the nature of work itself is changing. And I believe, and at Retrain, we believe that a real tsunami is coming to the world of work, and it's driven by multiple vectors,
Okay.
including mostly AI and automation that are really changing the nature of work, including changes to the composition of the demographics with aging population on one hand, but consumer sensibilities of millennials on the other hand. And then, of course, with COVID-19, which really accelerated a lot of the timelines. So vector number one is that the nature of work itself is changing. The demand for skills and new types of skills is changing. In order to be a teacher, you needed to be able to write with a white chalk on a blackboard, and now you need to operate Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
In order to work at a warehouse, you needed to know how to lift boxes, and now you need to operate a robot. In order to be a pilot, you need to be at the wheels, and now you need to operate a completely automated flight path system. And that is true across the board, from high skills, mid skill, low skills. The nature of work is changing. That's vector number one. Vector number two is that there's a real uh, supply problem. So
Mm-hmm.
there's just not enough people
Right.
with the right types of skills. So on one hand, we see in the papers all these titles like the robots are coming, they're going to take everybody's job. The reality is most employers are having a very hard time finding people as it is. So on one hand, we have very high unemployment. On the other hand, employers across the board are reporting skill shortages. Now in a post-pandemic world, there's all these headlines that part of the recovery is going to be limited by inability to find people.
Mm-hmm.
And intuitively, I think people understand that. They understand that there are a shortage of pilots or nurses or programmers. What people mostly don't know is there's also a shortage of drivers. While everybody's talking about self-driving cars, and soon enough, there's not going to be a job for any driver. Right now, there are 2 million driver jobs open, probably in the US alone,
Right.
right? And the same is true in supply chain, the same is true in healthcare, the same is true in manufacturing, just not enough people. So how could it be that on one hand, we have too many people, and on the other hand, we don't have enough people? The answer is there's a huge skills gap. The people that are ready to work and willing to work do not necessarily have the skills that the employers are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a demand and supply problem, which is severe. And the challenge with that is that unemployment is the symptom of that problem. Unemployability is the real problem. And while if you look carefully, and you can look at this article I published on Forbes a few weeks ago, we looked carefully at the recovery job data, for example. You'd see that the overall number of employed people is rising, so unemployment is going down. But if you look at the percentage of people on long-term unemployment, you realize that it's going up, meaning that some people can bounce in and out of the workforce, other people bounce out and can never bounce back in.
Right.
And that is a very, very, very big problem. And